If you found the mysterious places you've heard about so far to be unbelievable, then believe me, you're very wrong. Because the events I'm about to tell you now are so bizarre that had they not been recorded in history, no one would ever believe them. The first of these events occurred on April 14th, 1561, in the city of Nuremberg, Germany. In the 16th century, Nuremberg was a major city in the Holy Roman Empire. And being a major city means there were hundreds of eyewitnesses to confirm the truth of this event. Even today, a record of it still exists in Zurich, Switzerland, in the form of a woodcut painting. The people of Nuremberg also published this event in pamphlets. For your convenience, I'll translate one of those pamphlets for you. According to the citizens of Nuremberg, on the morning of April 14th, 1561, between 4 and 5 a.m., we witnessed a terrifying sight in the sky, seen by hundreds in the city of Nuremberg. First, we noticed red semicircles around the sun, which immediately filled us with fear. Then, one by one, we began to see strange round objects in the sky. Some were glowing red, and others were pitch black. Some of them flew alone while others flew in groups. Their flight patterns weren't in any one direction. They were flying around erratically, like fast-moving spheres. There were hundreds of them. Some were perfectly spherical, others looked like strange cylinders, and some even took the shape of crosses. Some appeared to be very heavy, while others seemed extremely light. Then they began to fight each other. This battle went on for about an hour, long enough for us to tell which side was winning. As the fight reached its peak, it seemed as if these objects were exhausted and about to fall from the sky. Some of the spheres even began to emit thick smoke. After watching this spectacle for a long time, we saw a large black spear-shaped object moving across the sky from west to east. What does all of this mean? Only God knows. But in recent times, we've been witnessing one strange phenomenon after another in the skies. Now, I have a question for you. Do you have any explanation for this event? This incident was recorded over 350 years before the invention of the first airplane. And it wasn't just witnessed by one person whose hallucination or lie could be dismissed. It had hundreds of witnesses. It's also well documented that, out of fear, people in Germany prayed and asked for forgiveness in churches for months afterward. I'd now like to tell you about a similar incident that occurred 5 years later in Basel, Switzerland. However, this event was slightly different. In Switzerland, the phenomenon was observed 3 times within 10 days on July 27th, July 28th, and then again on August 7th, 1566. It's known in history as the 1566 celestial phenomena over Basel. This event, too, is recorded in Switzerland's documented history. Pamphlets were published, and I'm going to share the eyewitness accounts from those pamphlets with you exactly as they were recorded. The events began with an unusual sunrise. Both its rising and setting were strange and abnormal. That night, there was also a lunar eclipse. The next morning, the sun appeared red. According to the pamphlet, on July 28, 1566, a clear sky hung over the city of Basel, and the sun was shining. But around 9 a.m., the sun's color and shape suddenly changed. First, its brightness faded. Then its size seemed to grow. Everyone in the city was watching. Though the sunlight touched houses, streets, and surroundings, everything appeared in a deep red hue. Did you notice? The pamphlet clearly describes a solar eclipse. But what happened after the eclipse, no one has ever been able to explain. Because after that, people saw a cluster of black spheres swirling in front of the sun, large, dark spheres moving rapidly across the sky. These spheres made sounds as if they were fighting. Many of them appeared angry and glowing red. Soon, some of them began to shatter, and in an instant, the whole scene vanished before people's eyes. Now, after hearing about both of these events, witnessed and reported by thousands and for which we still have written documentation, do you have any explanation? Even if you don't have an explanation, let me ask you a simple question. If you had to comment on these recorded observations, what would you say? Think about it. The people described the physical properties of what they saw. They estimated the weight of these objects, the speed and slowness of their movement, their flight patterns. They could even gauge the density of the smoke coming from these spheres, the changing colors and the shapes. They could tell which side seemed to be winning or losing. And such detailed observations can only be made if the event continued for hours in plain sight. But one very important point, often ignored by researchers, is that in both incidents, something unusual was happening with the sun. In the first incident, red semicircles appeared on either side of the sun, which I'll explain later. And in the second event, there was an eclipse. These details are crucial, and you must keep them in mind. Now let me tell you about a third incident. This one isn't ancient, but happened only 70 years ago. It took place in the lesser-known but equally mysterious Alaska Triangle. This region in Alaska, USA, spans thousands of acres, filled with some of the harshest forests, freezing temperatures, and rugged mountain terrain. I gave you some background earlier, but this is where one of America's greatest disappearances happened. In 1950, a military aircraft vanished with 44 personnel on board. Despite efforts by 7,000 members of the American and Canadian military, no trace was found. A similar case occurred in 1972 involving an American politician's plane. Over 39 days, 50 civilian and 40 military aircraft searched for it, but the plane was never found. Many theories try to explain the disappearances in the Alaska Triangle, from aliens to demons, bad weather to snowstorms. And just like the Bermuda Triangle and the Dragon's Triangle in Japan, I'll first present the factors we should consider, starting with natural disasters. Alaska remains one of the world's least explored regions. Its untouched forests make it America's most densely wooded state. What is shocking, however, is the sheer number of people who have gone missing here, double or even more than double compared to the rest of the US. But the case I want to tell you about happened in 1940 in a small Alaskan fishing village called Portlock. Portlock was a successful village of fishermen and shepherds inhabited for many decades. But the 1940s were nothing short of a nightmare. Severed bodies of sheep, goats, and humans began appearing in the village's streams. People started disappearing. Soon villagers began reporting to the police station that a strange creature or wild animal was attacking them. Now keep in mind, we're talking about Alaska, home to some of the largest wild bears in the world. So were the villagers facing a giant wild bear? Possibly. But let me tell you about a specific indigenous tribe in Alaska, the Tlingit tribe. These people have lived in Alaska and the US for centuries. Like many cultures, they have folklore and legends. One member of the tribe, Albert Petka, reportedly experienced a terrifying event. According to Albert, he was attacked by a creature covered entirely in hair. Albert's dogs fought that creature to protect their owner, and it eventually ran away. But before fleeing, the creature struck Albert hard on the chest. You might say that perhaps a wild animal attacked Albert, but Albert was a local born and raised in those very forests. He knew the native animals very well. He could distinguish between them and knew how to describe the differences between a bear, a wolf, and a hairy creature. Some people might say Albert was lying, but he wasn't, because that very injury is what ultimately led to his death. Another incident about this hairy creature comes from two local tribal brothers who were woodcutters. They were chopping wood in the forest when the older brother cut down a very large and strong tree. The younger brother, standing about 20-25 feet away, suddenly saw a very hairy creature appear out of nowhere. That creature lifted the fallen tree trunk and struck the older brother with it. In his statement, the younger brother said that it was impossible for the creature to be human. No human could lift such a massive trunk. Gradually, the people of Portlock began calling this creature Nantinnaq, a being that appeared neither human nor animal. Some Portlock residents believed it was a creature that existed between two different worlds, one that would emerge into ours through an unseen path and then vanish the same way. Sometimes it would even take humans with it. Hardly anyone would believe these stories, but the undeniable truth is that by 1950, every single resident had permanently left Portlock. The last person to remain was the village's brave postmaster, born and raised there, who had spent his entire life in the village. Leaving his ancestral home was extremely painful for him, but even he eventually had to leave after the increasing attacks. Finally, in 1951, the postmaster left Portlock, after which the post office was officially shut down and the place was declared an abandoned city. Today, nothing remains in Portlock except deserted houses and abandoned vehicles. So far, everything I've told you has probably raised more questions in your mind than answers about the Bermuda Triangle, the Japan Triangle, and the Alaska Triangle. But these mysterious wonders don't end here. The incidents from 1561 and 1566 in Germany and Switzerland are just two examples. Many of you may have heard about the Spanish settlers, the people who, after the discovery of America in the 15th century, set out from Spain and other parts of Europe on ships to settle in the newly discovered land of America. The settlements these European settlers established in America were called colonies. One of these colonies was Roanoke Colony, established in what is now the U.S. state of North Carolina. This entire colony vanished overnight, and to this day, no one knows what happened to it. We only know that they weren't attacked, no dead bodies were found, no signs of violence, and nothing was destroyed. So how did the entire Roanoke colony disappear? In the Alaska Triangle, thousands of people have gone missing without a trace, without any signs left behind. Massive ships have disappeared, and in the search for them, 7,000 people and 90 search and rescue aircraft were deployed for months, but still, no evidence was found. In the Bermuda Triangle, dozens of ships and boats have vanished. In some cases, the vessels were found, but their entire crews had mysteriously disappeared. And even to this day, we have no explanation. In the Japan Triangle, even the search and rescue teams themselves have vanished alongside the ships. Until now, I haven't given you any answers or explanations. I've only introduced you to these mysterious places. But if you allow me, I'd like to pose just one more question, an extremely important one. If these incidents are real, why don't they happen to everyone who enters places like the Bermuda Triangle? If these disappearances are real, how is it that an average vlogger can casually sail into the Bermuda Triangle with a video camera and come back saying, "There's nothing here"? Why don't we see red and black orbs fighting in the skies of Switzerland or Germany anymore? In simple words, the most important question: why don't these events happen now?